Namaste and beautiful morning, dear children. Hope whatever was taught in the previous class is clear to you. Today we'll see about yet another organic fertilizer, that is biofertilizers. Well, what are biofertilizers? From the name itself you can just make an assumption that biofertilizers is something which is living. Biofertilizers are defined as preparations containing living cells or latent cells of efficient streams of microorganisms that help crop plants for the uptake of nutrients by their interactions in the rhizosphere. Okay, so we prepare biofertilizer by taking inoculants of living cells or the latent cells of efficient streams of microorganisms. So using either a medium like coco peat, or you can use a peat as a medium, and you inoculate part or some strains of microorganism and multiply them in that particular medium, maybe peat or coco peat. So peat is generally obtained from humus. Okay, it is a part of the soil which is, or it is a type of soil which is obtained mostly from the humus component of the soil, that is decomposition of plants, right? Plants and to some extent animals. So you find peat in forest soil. So coming to the role of biofertilizers in soil fertility and agriculture, they supplement chemical fertilizers for meeting the integrated nutrient demand of the crop. So when we think about integrated nutrient management, that is a combination of manures and fertilizers to supply nutrient to the soil, we can consider biofertilizer as an important component of it. They can add 20 to 200 kg nitrogen per hectare under optimum soil condition and thereby increase 15 to 30% of total crop yield. They can at best minimize the use of chemical fertilizers. Minimizing the use of chemical fertilizer that is to be added to the crop not exceeding 40 to 50 kg nitrogen per hectare under very good agronomic and pest-free condition. Application of biofertilizers results in increased mineral and water uptake, root development, vegetative growth and nitrogen fixation. So coming to some examples of biofertilizers. We can see some of the examples of biofertilizers are rhizobium, which is very familiar to you. So rhizobium, about this you would have studied in your primary classes also. You know biofertilizer as rhizobium as a biofertilizer is a bacteria which is capable of fixing the atmospheric nitrogen, and it is found in the root nodules of plant, right? Then you have blue-green algae, you have Azotobacter species. All these things, they stimulate the production of growth promoting substances like vitamin B complex, indole acetic acid, gibberellic acids, etc. So these are growth promoting substances. So if you examine the root zone or the root of a legume plant, you can find that there are certain nodules. If you cut open the nodules, you will find it is pinkish in color. So that is because of the presence of lead hemoglobin. Okay, and they actually stay inside the nodules, and in turn they help the plant in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. Fine. Right, so you can see in the picture how the rhizobium looks. This is the root nodule of a legume plant, and you find also blue-green algae. Blue-green algae in the third picture, you can find it as a mat. Okay, so blue-green algae, how does it appear? Blue-green algae, actually it is a type of photosynthetic cyanobacteria that belongs to the plant kingdom. It is found in paddy fields where good sunlight, water, high temperature and high nutrients are found. It fixes atmospheric nitrogen. It can be seen floating as dense mat in the paddy fields. It is a filamentous form found on the water surface. It grows well in clayey and alluvial soil. Okay, so these are the soil where it grows well. And coming, so you can see rhizobium and blue-green algae. Then in this particular slide, you can see Azotobacter. So this is the commercial formulation of Azotobacter, how it is available in the market. What is Azotobacter? Azotobacter is a kind of bacteria that grows around the roots of the plants and utilizes the carbon present in the soil. It is capable of absorbing the atmospheric nitrogen and converting it into a form that can be utilized by the plants. It is affected by high acidity, high salt content and high temperature. It grows well in waterlogged paddy fields. So it is used as a means to supply nitrogen. Fine. Then we have the next type of biofertilizer, which is the phosphate solubilizing or mobilizing. Okay, phosphate mobilizing or phosphorus solubilizing biofertilizer. So this is a microorganism, bacteria, fungi, mycorrhiza, etc., which converts the insoluble soil phosphate into soluble form. So how does it do that? It does it by secreting several organic acids under optimum condition. They are able to solubilize or mobilize about 30 to 50 kg phosphorus per hectare, due to which the crop yield may increase by 10 to 20%. So their purpose is to solubilize the phosphorus which is present in the soil. Generally the phosphorus will be present in the soil, but it will not be in a form that can be readily absorbed by the plants. So what this phosphate mobilizing or phosphorus solubilizing biofertilizer does, it will make the insoluble soil phosphate into soluble form, right, by secreting certain organic acids. Then we have the vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. So mycorrhiza or VAM, it is a fungi. When used as a biofertilizer, what it does, it enhances the uptake of phosphorus, zinc and sulfur. And apart from this, it also helps to mobilize water also, leading to uniform crop growth and increased yield. And it also enhances resistance to root diseases and improves the hardiness of the transplanted stock, right? So they liberate growth promoting substances and vitamins and help to maintain the soil fertility. They liberate growth promoting hormones and substances and vitamins and helps to maintain the soil fertility. So this is how the vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza looks, right? So then these vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, they act as antagonists and suppress the incidence of soil-borne pathogens and thus help in the biocontrol of the disease, right? So then we have nitrogen fixing, phosphate mobilizing and celluloidic microorganisms. So we can find nitrogen fixing biofertilizers, we have phosphate mobilizing biofertilizers, we have celluloidic microorganisms as biofertilizers. What is their purpose? They help to enhance availability of the plant nutrients in the soil and thus they help to sustain the agriculture production farming system. Clear? They are cheaper, they are pollution free and renewable energy sources. So biofertilizers have numerous number of advantages. They are cheaper, pollution free and renewable energy sources. And what else they do? They improve the physical properties of the soil tilth, the soil health in general. They improve soil fertility and soil productivity, right? And so there are biofertilizers called as blue-green algae. So examples of these include Nostac, Anabina and Cytonema. They are employed in the reclamation of alkaline soil. They are employed in the reclamation of alkaline soil. So sometimes if the soil is alkaline, certain plants will not grow. So we have to use some reclamation methods in order to bring the soil into a condition where the certain plant can grow. So we use blue-green algae like Nostac, Anabina and Cytonema. So what is this blue-green algae? Blue-green algae is a type of photosynthetic cyanobacteria that belongs to the plant kingdom. It is found in paddy fields where good sunlight, water, high temperature and high nutrients are found. It fixes the atmospheric nitrogen, and we can find, as you saw in that picture, we can find them floating as dense mats in the paddy fields. It is a filamentous form found on the water surface. It grows well in clayey and alluvial soil. Right? Then you have bioinoculants containing cellulitic and lignolytic microorganism which enhance the degradation, decomposition of organic matter in the soil, as well as enhance the rate of decomposition in the pit. Okay. So then you have blue-green algae, which plays a vital role in nitrogen economy of the rice fields in tropical region. You have Azotobacter. Coming to Azotobacter, what is Azotobacter? It is a kind of bacteria that grows around the roots of the plants and utilizes the carbon present in the soil. And this Azotobacter is capable of absorbing the atmospheric nitrogen and converting it into a form that can be utilized by the plants. It is affected by high acidity, high salt content and high temperature. It grows well in waterlogged paddy fields. Okay. And then you have Azolla and Anabaena. Azolla, actually it is a floating fern. Azolla is a floating fern that grows in the stagnant water of rice fields. This plant contains an alga called as Anabaena azolae. So this particular Azolla, it has cavities on the fronds and it contains an alga called Anabaena azolae in the cavities of its fronds. It provides the necessary nutrients and space which is required for the growth of these algae. In turn, the algae provides Azolla with the fixed atmospheric nitrogen and other nutrients which are essential for its growth. This Azolla, it grows well in marshy land where paddy is cultivated, and it is capable of providing about 40 to 60 kg of nitrogen per hectare of land. Okay, so Azolla Anabaena, it grows profusely as a floating plant in the flooded rice fields, and it can fix 40 to 80 kg nitrogen per hectare in approximately 40 to 60 tons of biomass that is produced, and it plays a very important role in the recycling of plant nutrients. So you can see in the picture how Azolla looks. Then you have the mycelium. Okay, you have the mycelium of mycorrhizal fungus, which can make them available to the plants they colonize. So mycorrhizal and non-mycorrhizal barley plants. So once they, just for example, once they colonize with Coccolobus sativus, the nutrients, carbohydrates, so nutrients, carbohydrates, stress resistance, all this will benefit both the partners. So once mycorrhizal, non-mycorrhizal barley plant, when it is colonizing with Coccolobus sativus, this is what happens. So both are benefited by carbohydrates and stress management, right? Then you have the next type of biofertilizer, which is silicate and zinc solubilizing biofertilizer. Silicate and zinc solubilizing biofertilizers, here the microorganisms are capable of degrading silicates and aluminium silicates. They are capable of degrading silicates and aluminium silicates. Bacillus species can be used as a biofertilizer for zinc or aluminium silicates because these organisms solubilize the zinc present in the soil and make it available to the plants. Like the phosphate solubilizing bacteria, we have the zinc solubilizing biofertilizer. And then you have plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, which in short is called as PGPR. Species of Pseudomonas and Bacillus, they can produce phytohormones or growth promoters. Okay, Pseudomonas and Bacillus, they are able to produce phytohormones or growth promoters, which help in better growth of the plants. They can also produce growth promoters like indole acetic acid, cytokinins, gibberellins and inhibitors of ethylene production, right? We can produce all these things. Then coming to the next one, the phosphate solubilizing biofertilizer. So these are group of beneficial bacteria which is capable of hydrolyzing organic and inorganic phosphorus from insoluble compounds. They are capable of hydrolyzing organic and inorganic phosphorus from insoluble compounds. Pseudomonas, Bacillus and Rhizobium are among the most powerful inoculation of PSB, phosphate solubilizing bacteria. So you get 30 kg phosphorus per hectare, right? 30 kg phosphorus per hectare. Then microorganism, how the microorganisms look. So you can, it is a symbiotic, generally mutualistic association between the fungus and the root zone of a vascular plant. Okay, between fungus and the root zone of a vascular plant. So this fungus, what it does, it colonizes the host plant's roots either intracellularly or extracellularly. And this association provides the fungus with access to carbohydrates. So the fungus gets access to carbohydrates, and in return the plant gains the benefit of mycelium's higher absorptive capacity for water and minerals, right? So this picture has it is overlapped with the contents. The contents you can just read in the textbook. Okay. So plant roots alone may be incapable of taking up phosphate ions that are demineralized in soil with a basic pH. So this mycorrhiza helps in that. The mycelium of the mycorrhizal fungus can make them available to the plants they colonize. Right? So this is what happens. So this is how the mycorrhiza looks. So next we'll see about the method of biofertilizer application. We will see the method of biofertilizer application. So biofertilizers, we have seen different types of biofertilizers. We'll see how some of them are applied. So coming to blue-green algae. So as I told you, blue-green algae is a type of photosynthetic cyanobacteria that belongs to the plant kingdom and which we find generally in the paddy fields where good sunlight, water, high temperature and high nutrients are found. It fixes the atmospheric nitrogen and it can be seen floating as dense mats in the paddy field. It is a filamentous form formed on the water surface. It grows well in clayey and alluvial soil. So we can apply this as soil application at 4 kg algal culture per acre. So it can be applied within 7 days after transplanting or within 10 days after transplanting. So they are available as small bits in plastic packets. This should be powdered and directly added to the soil. Water should be allowed to stagnate to a depth of 3 to 5 cm in the field where algae are grown. Blue-green algae should be added to the field continuously for 4 cropping seasons. Therefore, it grows naturally. Thereafter what happens? It grows naturally in the land and produces the desired result. Then you have azolla. So what is this azolla? Azolla, as I told you, it is a floating fern that grows in the stagnant water of rice fields, and this plant contains an alga called as Xanabina azole in the cavities of the fronds, and it provides the necessary nutrients and space required for the growth of this algae. In turn, what the algae does, it provides azolla with the fixed atmospheric nitrogen and other nutrients essential for its growth. Azolla grows well in marshy land where paddy is cultivated. It is capable of providing 40 to 60 kg of nitrogen per hectare of land, right? So this also azolla we apply 4 tons per acre as planting. So when it is grown as a dual crop or as an intercrop, you have to apply 400 to 500 kg per acre. So it is applied 7 days or 10 days after transplanting. Next we come to rhizobium. So rhizobium is applied for all the legumes. What is the method of application? Either you go for treatment of the seed treatment of the legume seeds, or you go for soil application. Then you have Azotobacter and Azospirillum. So Azotobacter, as I told you, it is a kind of bacteria that grows around the roots of the plants and utilizes the carbon present in the soil. It is capable of absorbing the atmospheric nitrogen and converting it to the form that can be utilized by the plants, right? Azotobacter. And it is affected by high acidity, high salt content and high temperature. It grows well in waterlogged paddy fields. And coming to Azospirillum, Azospirillum is a type of bacteria that grows around the roots of cereals and grasses, okay, cereal plants and grasses. It is capable of absorbing the atmospheric nitrogen and converting it to the form that can be utilized by the plants. Since it grows in the root regions, it helps the plant to absorb the nitrogen from the soil. It works effectively in land where phosphorus content is less. Studies indicate that azospirillum can fix 50 to 200 gram of nitrogen per day in paddy crops. Right, so this is about Azotobacter and Azospirillum. Then we will see about phosphorus solubilizer microorganism or phosphate solubilizing biofertilizer. Okay, so phosphobacteria, it is a type of bacteria that is capable of growing around the root surface of the plant. The growth of this microorganism helps in conversion of insoluble phosphate, a source of phosphorus, into a soluble form in the soil. Thus, it aids in absorption of phosphorus by the plants. So, this is applied as seed treatment or seed material treatment. So, material treatment of potato, sugarcane, sweet potato, etc. And then seedling root dipping. The seedlings are, the roots of the seedling are dipped. So, this is done for vegetable, flowers, and those are transplanted. And we can also go for soil application. So, for every acre of crop, 2 kg of phosphobacteria is used. Okay, 2 kg of phosphobacteria which should be mixed with 25 kg of well-decayed manure or wet sand. So, either you can mix with 25 kg of well-decayed manure or wet sand and apply before transplanting. Then you have vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. So, this is applied as an inoculation to the seedlings on the seed bed. Inoculate means you just apply it, inject or apply it. Inoculation of potted soil waste decompose and compost pit decomposition. So, these are used for decomposition process also, and sometimes it is applied in situ, that is there and then for decomposition. So, this is about the methods of biofertilizer application. Okay, hope you understood. The remaining things we'll see in the next class. So, I would like you to go to the slides properly and read the text, and after that you have to answer to the questions which are given in page number 47 and 48. So, whatever questions have been taught related to this particular portions which were discussed for this particular unit, you have to find out the answers and write them in your classwork notebook. Okay children, and post it. Thank you.